One thing that has always intrigued me about grading Pokemon cards is how much of a large price difference there is between a 9.5 or a 10 or a PSA 9 or to a PSA 10 or whatever the grading company may be. It's always had me intrigued because at the end of the day, you still get to enjoy that same artwork, that same card, but it could just be minorly different in appearance, and it can be worth so much more. And in this video, we're going to be looking at some of those cards, just a few, because there are hundreds that I'm always coming across, and I added to a little watch list just to keep my eyes on them, because if they pop up and I feel like it can get a 10, then I'm absolutely going to buy that card. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to, very much so scrutinize it. And as you'll see in this video, there are some cards that have thousands of dollars difference from their PSA 9 or CGC 9 or Beckett 9 counterpart in a 10. And it's absolutely insane, so definitely stick around for this video. We're gonna look at some entry-level options and some that are gonna be a little bit more of an expensive buy-in, but can offer some massive returns on your investment. So stick around for this one. I think you're gonna enjoy. So let's hop into the computer and get to looking at this list. All right, so we're on the computer, and starting off this list, we're gonna be looking at Dark Gyarados number 8 from Team Rocket. And this is the first edition, as indicated by the little first edition stamp there on the middle left of the card. And so this card is worth around $130 to $150 in a PSA 9. Now we'll see there's some recent sales here, August 14th, August 11th for $152. There's the August 1st, there was a sale for $163, and then a sale right before that for $105. So I think it's pretty safe to say this is about a $137 card, as indicated by the average here for grade 9. So if we look at a PSA 10 for this card, you can see that it jumps all the way up to $500 plus. Some sales even reaching almost $600. And that is a huge upside. So that results in about a $380 difference from a 1-point grade increase. Now, you might be thinking, well, how many of these exist? How difficult is it? And in all honesty, I don't think there's that few of these in a PSA 10. If we look at the PSA census here for Dark Gyarados, the first edition right here, you can see that there is 452 graded copies in a PSA 10 and almost 4,000 total copies graded on the PSA census, and then 1,700 of which are PSA 9s. So it is quite a large drop from the PSA 9 to the PSA 10s, but still a fairly large amount compared to some other cards you'll see on this list. So I think this is a great card to just put on your watch list on eBay for some auctions or whatever other auction sites you may have, or maybe the next card show or card shop you go to. Look out for this card because it's not super rare, and you can find PSA 8, PSA 9s of these that could potentially upgrade to a PSA 10. So I think that that's a good card to keep your eyes out for. Next up is Giovanni's Gyarados, another first edition card from Pokemon Gym Challenge. This is an awesome card. I'm a really huge fan of the artwork here for Giovanni's Gyarados. I'm a really big fan of Gyarados as a whole, as a Pokemon. But if we look at the cost of a PSA 9, we can see this is a decent bit more than some of the other cards on this list. I've got some that are kind of more expensive and some that are more entry level. So this is definitely one where, if you hold on to it for a while, you might not be interested in holding on for a while, because you're going to be holding on to a $200 to $300 debt and until you resell that card. So you can see right here, there was a sale July 25th for $300, the day before for $200, and then a couple weeks before for $200, and then $169 before that. So it seems like it's kind of on the up right now for PSA 9 pricing. And if we look at PSA 10, it is a 3 times difference in price. We see there was a sale. This was 3 months ago. There was a sale for $1,076. It might have come down a little bit since then. It might not be that same price, but either way, this is a huge jump from a single grade point. And I do think that this card, you're not going to see a ton of these very often. If we look over at Giovanni's Gyarados first edition, you can see that there is 200 copies in a PSA 10. There's 650 in a PSA 9 and only about 1,600 in PSA graded copies in general. So a lot less graded copies that exist, and probably it's just in general a more rare card. So this might not be an easy one to pull off, but there is definitely going to be some out there. So put it on a watch list, keep your eyes peeled, and you never know, there might be some PSA 9s that really look good. They might just need to be cleaned, or possibly they just, they are PSA 10s and they're just graded as a 9 because it was just, the grader was having a bad day or whatever it may be. We really will never know, but that's a great card to put on your watch list. Next up is Lieutenant Surge's Pikachu, another first edition card on this list. And I think that first editions generally speaking, have huge upsides between grades just because a lot of times you're going to see less first editions than the regular holo. And also, the first editions are more desirable. People love those first edition cards. And so Lieutenant Surge's Pikachu is about a $30 card. This is definitely a more entry-level card, but still huge upside when you consider the percentage value. Huge upside. So it's $30, about pretty frequently being sold. And if we look at PSA 10s, the last sale was $184. And then the sale before that, $157, $189, $153, $143. So around that $150 to $160 mark in a PSA 10. That is an awesome 6x increase. And, this is another card where you're going to be able to find a decent amount of these. 1,300 on the census, there's 200 PSA 10s and 700 PSA 9s. And I can almost certainly guarantee that if you were to go buy, $160 worth of PSA 9s of this card, so what would that be? That would be, 5, maybe 6 of these cards, depending on if you get them for a good deal, you get them on auction. You could buy 5 or 6 of these cards in a PSA 9, crack them out, resubmit them. I guarantee you will get at least one PSA 10 from those cards. I guarantee. It's almost just like logically speaking, like if someone as a grader sees someone send in 6 cards, even if there is one that is slightly flawed, I just feel like they are going to see that PSA 9 grade for all of them except for maybe one. Or, for all we know, they'll give them all PSA 10s. We really don't know. Grading is subjective. And I can't guarantee anything really, but it is very possible that they will grade one of them a 10. And then if one of them does come back a 10, then you just made your money back for all the other 9s. So that's another one to put on your list. Really nice entry-level card. Next up, straying away from the first edition and also vintage, we have a really awesome Umbreon and Darkrai promo card. And in general, one thing to note in this video is promo cards almost always have huge upside from PSA 9s to PSA 10s. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's upside, it's more of reverse. Every time a promo comes out, there's so many of them that flood the market that PSA 10s are the only thing that people really want. And generally, promos are not PSA 10s. They're centering issues, they're in plastic that's shifting around and they're not really protected. While in a pack, cards have a better chance of being secure. So promos just, there's gonna be a lot of them out there, but not a lot of 10s. Now, we'll actually see with this card, if we look at the price for it, we see that a PSA 9 goes for about, $40 to $50, I would say. There's some low sales, some high sales. and you'll see there's a couple CGC ones that really sold for a very bargain, great bargain, great to cross over, I would say. And PSA 10 goes for $400+. Some sales even for $500. So if we look at the PSA census for the Umbreon and Darkrai GX, we can see there's almost 4,000 graded copies, 738 PSA 10s, and 2,200 PSA 9 graded copies. So there is tons of these cards out there. I think it's an awesome promo, and worst case scenario, if you have a PSA 9, I mean, what? You can get one for 40 or 50 bucks, and then you just get to keep that card. Or you could buy, 4 to 8 copies of them and then regrade them, and you'll probably get at least one PSA 10. It really depends on the condition, guys. I don't want you to just focus in on the number, because really do look over the card. Look over the card in the case and after you crack it out. But this is a card to definitely put on your watch list, and has major upside there. Really, really solid upside. Now, moving on to the last card on our list, we've got another Umbreon, a very desirable Umbreon in my opinion. This is the Prime Umbreon from Pokémon Undaunted. In a PSA 9, this card sells for between $180 to $250, probably around that $235 mark as price charting puts it at. And a PSA 10 last sold this month for $2,100. Absolutely an insane sold price. This card is just, man, that is crazy. Such a high compared to those last sales as well. And, to be fair, this card is very rare. If we look, there's only 60 copies in a PSA 10 and 500 copies in a 9. So, not like incredibly rare, but you can see that the most are graded in a PSA 8. So this is definitely going to be a tough card. There's going to be a tough crossover. It's going to be tough to get in that PSA 10. But man, could you imagine, getting this card for 170 bucks, you cross it over, and then you got a $2,000 payday. So guys, that is the list. I hope you enjoyed this one. That Umbreon from Pokemon Undaunted is absolutely awesome. I really, really love how unique those cards are. And man, could you imagine buying that for $180, $200 and getting it in a PSA 10, selling it for $2,200+. Absolutely insane how much of a markup there is for that card. And to tell you the truth, I would be happy with it in any grade. And the reason being is grading is just, in my opinion, when you're looking for the rarest and most valuable version of that card. But if you're looking to collect what you enjoy, what you like, then just get whatever grade you're happy with, whatever appearance it looks good still in. Because there's even some PSA 6s and 7s out there that look fantastic. Unless you really looked at them closely, you're not gonna see a whole lot wrong with that card. It's kind of once you get into those, 5s and lowers that you start to see, some really rough around the edges cards. And even those cards, they're loved. That card was sitting in someone's pocket when they were a kid, or they played with it in their decks. You can enjoy that card still. So I don't want to just, be out there looking for these PSA 10 candidates. It's really just about a way to invest and further your collection, because how awesome would it be to have something that is worth thousands of dollars that you only paid, 20 bucks for, or 50 bucks or 100 bucks. I think that that's where I've really gotten so intrigued about crossing over and grading cards with different companies and, seeing if I can clean them or press them or whatever it may be. Because at the end of the day, I just don't want to spend thousands of dollars on some of these cards that I really do enjoy having encapsulated, having graded, and have them, appear nice, be in good condition. And so I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I hope you're able to take something away and add something to your watch list. Definitely looking forward to making more of these in the future. And if you did enjoy, please do consider hitting the subscribe button, or liking and commenting on this video, and in so doing, you'll be entered to win this month's giveaway for this awesome Japanese 151 box. I really appreciate you guys. We'll catch you in the next one.